Hi, today our group Ajantik will be reviewing the movie Monsoon Wedding, directed by Meera Nair, which was released in 2001. It is based on the reunion of a Punjabi family for a wedding in the family. Relatives from various parts of the world come together in Delhi for the wedding ceremony. Universal in theme, the film explores the bonds that unite families in a touching, dramatic, and comedic way. The film Monsoon Wedding explores the compelling contrast between tradition and modernity against the backdrop of an increasingly globalized India. It was the recipient of Venice Film Festival's highest reward, the Golden Lion, the second Indian movie to have won this accolade after Satyajit Ray's Aparajito in 1957. It also won the BAFTA for the Best Foreign Language Film. Recently, this movie was screened at the Cultural Fest in Qatar as part of the World Cup. It shows that even after 20 years, the film is still a favorite.
The film was made in 30 days with 68 characters. It portrays an authentic sense of Indian wedding planning, which can be relatable to the Indian audience. The wedding brings about universality of families, five different stories, and five faces of love. The film has authentic and realistic depictions of family relations. It is a mix between the humorous and the solemn aspects of life. It is one of those joyous films that leaps over national boundaries and celebrates universal human nature.
The movie follows the events in the large Burma family of Delhi as their daughter Aditi prepares to marry Hemant, a computer programmer from Houston, Texas. He is an NRI, non resident Indian, who has returned to meet the bride selected by his parents for an arranged marriage. Such marriages are an ancient tradition, but these are modern young people. And in the opening scene, we see Aditi in a hurried exchange with her married lover, a TV host. She has agreed to the arranged marriage partly out of impatience with her lover's vague talk about someday divorcing his wife. If you look closely, Monsoon Wedding is a fantastic, homogeneous fusion of five stories cutting across age, caste, class, professions, and nationalities, each one a different pace of life.
Talking about the background, the movie is set in a post liberalized India, clearly depicts how, even when we are in a new millennium and we're said to be progressive, we still held onto our conventions and traditions, some good and some bad. For example, when Lalit hesitates in confronting Tej for abusing Ria after finding out the truth because he does not want to quote unquote break the family. The patriarchal notion in Indian society are very prevalent in the movie. Lalit's son Varun wants to be a chef to dance at his sister's wedding, but he is stopped by his father and told he would be sent to a boarding school to discipline him. There is also a part where Lalit asks his friend for some cash as he's running short, and to this, a friend replies that daughters are burden and he's thankful that he doesn't have a daughter. When the film came out, it was almost the first portrait of a globalization that people outside India had seen. Meera Nair clarifies that in the play there is a portrait of two things: an India that is complicatedly becoming a sort of real power, but also a portrait of America, since half of our story is about America. An America that may not even let us in. Direct quote by Meera Nair.
There is a huge mixture of language which can be seen throughout the film. The use of English is very common, and even Punjabi is seen in some parts of the film. The film portrays the emergence of English in the Indian society. No conversation is either just in Hindi or English. Even Dubey, who mispronounces event management, talks in English to make his points clear to Lalit. The film opens up about childhood trauma, basically the family inflicted trauma that can't be disclosed because of what the society might have to say. Ria's outburst, bringing out the truth in front of the family, not only serves as a reality check against Tate's identity for Lilith, who holds him in the highest regard, but also emphasizes on how deeply traumatizing sexual harassment is for its victims, especially when the abuser is one in your own family. Monsoon Wedding was one of the earliest Indian films to talk about child sexual abuse and pedophilia, especially among an upper middle class setting with the offender being from the family. The story is written by Sabrina Dhawan, who was a teaching assistant to Naya at Columbia University, where the latter was faculty at time. In scripting Bollywood candid conversation with women who wrote in Hindi cinema, Dhawan expressed that the story drew heavily from her family and her personal experiences. The character of Ria was carved out of her own experiences. The revelation about the sexual abuse is autobiographical.
The ideas of arranged marriage and the idea of settlement is highlighted throughout the movie. Alia is seen as a darling daughter when she is ready to get settled with a man she barely knows. She quite literally settles for him when she runs away from Vikram. There is also the demonizing of choosing to be single and prioritizing career as seen in the case of Ria with her day-to-day conversations with the elders in the family. Ria prioritizing her own company and seeking education for creative writing receives a lot of voice in the family against it. They believe that she should be not be studying and but getting married and having children because that is her duty in the family's opinion. Also, class differences are portrayed when Alice asks Dubé about which type of water he'd prefer, or when she tries on the jewelry that belongs to Aditi. Alice and Dubé both aspire to get married in the grandiose way Aditi was.
Michael Dana, a Canadian white man, composed the music, which is quite ironic because he composed a song called Bharat, which is typical to the Indian culture. This could be considered as cultural appropriation. Class differences were also portrayed when Alice asked Dubé which type of water he'd prefer, or when she tries on jewelry that belongs to Aditi. Alice and Dubé both aspired to be married in the grandiose way that Aditi was. We also see the portrayal of post liberalization in India. The differences were minute for the elite, but for the working class like Dubé, 12 rupees per minute on call was exuberant. The film also portrays colorist notions like Gori Chitti, which is often used to describe Aditi in the movie, which reduces her to just her looks rather than who she is as a person.
Even liberals from USA, who are supposedly more progressive and outside of a society that offers such sexism, have the same beliefs and keep coming back to those beliefs. Pimmy hiding her smoking habit again and again because she can't handle the stress that comes with planning a wedding, but she never drinks in front of the family because women are not supposed to be drinking in Indian culture. Rain plays an important role in the film. We can see Rain on two different occasions. When they're caught by the police in the car, Vikram and Aditi, and at the end of the movie during the marriage. The movie is also like an ode to Delhi, a love letter, if you will. Shots of old Delhi in the film, representing culture and heritage of the city, it shows how much love the director herself has for the city with all its flaws, as she spent her formative years in Delhi.
The movie uses a lot of gem shots and vivid and vibrant colors to represent the vibrant community of the family and also showcasing the chaos and hustle bustle in contrast to the hectic wedding season going on. Being in India is showcased through shots and the rain. The atmosphere and the concept of love, confusing, disturbing, and pure, which is portrayed through this pouring down on characters who are confused about what to do in their love lives. But also, the working class getting drenched in rain showcases how unforgiving the monsoon season is for the daily wage workers. The movie has different stories, plots, and subplots running parallelly that come together in the last scene when they all dance together in the same rain.
The movie review. The hope for Monsoon Wedding is that those who like it will drag their friends to watch it too. There is such an unreasonable prejudice in this country against any film that is not exactly like any other film. People cheerfully attend assembly like junk but are wary of movies that might give them a new experience or take them new places. Monsoon Wedding is a kind of a film where you might met characters you have never been within 10,000 miles of and feel like you know them at once.
The response to this movie was overwhelmingly good. The stories were well received by the audience, and the idea of so many stories happening simultaneously kept the audience interested all the way to the end. Monsoon Wedding alternates and combines humorous and joyful moments with serious truth. The audience loved the way how fantastically The movie was narrated in an ornate manner. The audience could somehow relate to this story because, as earlier mentioned, it was about a traditional Indian middle class family. The film is an enduring tribute to the Indian culture and family, which is why we also recommend watching this movie. Thank you. Signing off, Kropa Chandrak.